Okay, this is The Art of Public Speaking. We are now on chapter 13. We're moving to part 2 of it. And the part 2 is interesting because in part 2, they add a couple of sections in here that are not in every book on delivery. They talk about answering audience questions, about preparing for a question and answer session, which sometimes you will have. You want to make sure you formulate answers to possible questions. Try to anticipate possible questions and then have answers ready for them. You want to practice the delivery of your answer, just like you practice your speech. It's important to manage the question and answer session so that you're the one in control of it and it's not being, the flow is not being controlled by someone else. Try to approach questions with a positive attitude, even if they're negative questions. You really need to listen carefully to the questions. Listen carefully to the questions. Try to direct your answers to the entire audience, not just the person who does the question, but to everyone who's there. It's also very important to be honest and straightforward. Oftentimes when there's a follow-up question of something that you've said, the follow-up questions can be tricky and they can have you saying something that's not exactly the way you meant it. You got to be very honest about it. You don't want to not just, the best thing to do is just tell the truth right up front. Try to stay on track. Try not to get off target and off the course and talk about something that did not relate to the question. And so that's good advice, not necessarily what I would consider part of delivery. The next section is about presenting your speech online. That's a very important thing nowadays. These online classes, it's a very important thing that you consider that. When you're doing your speech online, understand it's a very special environment. It's not the same as being in person. Very, very different. If you can do your speech when you're doing it online, if you can do it in a Zoom conference with us, that'd be a great way to do it and have an audience there. Another way to do it is do it in front of friends and family, possibly. Make sure that, everyone is safe and healthy before you do that type thing. Be very careful about that, of course, in this day of the day and age of COVID-19. Know your technology. It's very important to know your technology. How does it work? It's important to frame your picture. You may notice, and I don't always do it perfectly, but I try to. Typically, the face needs to be about 3/4 of the way up on the screen. It should not be, your head should not be bumping the top of it or just inches from the top of it. So we feel like you're about to go out of the frame. Also, you should not be down in the middle. That's not proper framing for television and for online presentation. Control your visual environment. That's a very important thing as well. I'm going to give you a demonstration of that. The great thing about a Zoom conference is what I'm doing this recording in actually, is Zoom conference gives you an option of having a virtual background. Now, what I've done is I picked a virtual background. That's a classroom. I took this picture a long time ago in my classroom before anybody got there. Didn't really think of it as being something I might use later. I just wanted a picture because I like shooting pictures. You can have no visual background. Now, as you look behind me, you see there's a lot of clutter back there. That's problematic. It can be distracting. There are a lot of different things that you can pick. You can pick pictures you've taken. You can even find pictures online that you might put back there. That's a download that I did. And there's me as a kid. Go back to sunrise. There's sunrise behind me now. I might want to put in the Alabama football, but this is what I typically do. You want to make sure you do control your background environment. Adapt your nonverbal communication. You may see that I still try to gesture a little bit. That can be distracting in this setting. Adjust your pacing for the online environment. Be careful on that. You might have questions and answers in the online environment, especially if you're doing your speech in a Zoom conference. And also rehearse for the online environment. I have actually been doing one of these lectures and something wasn't going well. Stop, delete it, start all over. I've done that. That is the end of chapter 13, part 2. And I hope this